Get ready for more quirk. The critically acclaimed CBS Original ELSBETH is back for Season 2. CBS Thursday, October 17th, Carrie Preston returns as the unexpectedly brilliant attorney Elsbeth Tassioni, working with the NYPD to catch the city's most well-heeled murderers. Every week brings new mysteries and surprising new guest stars, from Nathan Lane to Vanessa Williams, but always the same Elsbeth. Don't miss a moment. Elsbeth is all new on CBS Thursday, October 17th at 10/9 Central as part of CBS Premiere Week and streaming on Paramount+. Hello, from Wonder Media Network, I'm Jenny Kaplan. This bonus episode is brought to you by the CBS Original ELSBETH. Every Saturday this month, we're focusing on different women who've achieved remarkable success and influence in their respective fields by upholding unique points of view and being exemplary leaders while remaining true to themselves. The Good Housewife shepherds her kids to school. The Good Housewife does laundry and takes her husband's suit to the dry cleaner. The Good Housewife mops the floors, tends to the garden, cooks dinner. The Good Housewife keeps dinner warm when her husband is late coming home from work. She fends off her tiredness and boredom, and she picks up a copy of the Feminine Mystique. The Good Housewife reads it and wonders, maybe there's more to life than this. Let's talk about the author of the Feminine Mystique, Betty Friedan. Betty was born Betty Naomi Goldstein on February 4th, 1921 in Peoria, Illinois. Her father was a Russian immigrant who ran a jewelry store downtown. Her mother, an immigrant from Hungary, worked as an editor of the women's page for the local newspaper before becoming a housewife. Young Betty was smart, outspoken, and an outcast at her high school. She was rarely asked on dates and was unwelcome in the sororities her other female classmates enjoyed. Betty later attributed that to anti-Semitism. University was a much more positive experience for Betty. At Smith College, she flourished. In 1942, she graduated summa cum laude and then moved to Berkeley for a psychology fellowship. She could have kept going to get her PhD. She won a prestigious second fellowship after all. But it was hard to be a bright woman in academia. The man she was dating pressured her to turn down the fellowship. So she said she wanted a more active role in the revolution and instead moved to New York City without him. There, Betty worked for 3 years for the left-wing news service, the Federated Press. In 1946, she got a job as a reporter and editor for UE News, which was published by the United Electrical, Radio, and Machine Workers of America. Betty increasingly became interested in labor and union rights. She wrote union pamphlets arguing for rights for women in the workplace. A year later, Betty married a theater director named Carl Friedan. They had 3 children together and eventually moved out of the city. While working as a housewife, Betty continued to write on a freelance basis for women's magazines. Then Betty was asked to conduct a survey. What would become one of the most influential nonfiction books of the 20th century began as an assignment for a Smith College reunion. Betty was tasked with debunking the idea that higher education keeps women from being successful wives and mothers. She expected the responses to show women prospering. A college education, a loving husband, adorable, obedient children. It was the 1950s. In this modern day and age, a woman could have it all, right? Apparently not. The women Betty surveyed were discontent. As she expanded her survey to different women's colleges, the sentiment was the same. American women were plagued by what she dubbed the problem that has no name. Betty set out to give it a name. She spent the next 5 years interviewing middle-class white women from across the country. The work manifested in her first book, The Feminine Mystique, in 1963. It began, gradually, without seeing it clearly for quite a while. I came to realize that something is very wrong with the way American women are trying to live their lives today. Over the course of more than 400 pages, Betty drew on history, psychology, sociology, economics, and her first-hand interviews to outline the isolating life of an American housewife. She also proposed a new social order in which men and women were treated as equals. The Feminine Mystique was an instant bestseller. In addition to earning commercial success, it was having a marked impact on culture. Suddenly, women saw that the discontent they felt was not an individual problem, but a systemic one. The book was credited with launching the women's liberation movement and second-wave feminism. Betty didn't just want to describe a problem, she wanted to work towards its solution. So in 1966, she helped found the National Organization for Women, or NOW, and served as its first president. Then in 1969, she helped found the National Association for the Repeal of Abortion Laws. That same year, Betty and her husband Carl got divorced. Later, in her 2000 memoir, she revealed that Carl was physically abusive during their marriage. He denied Betty's claims. Amid changes in her personal life, Betty forged onward with her activism. On August 26, 1970, NOW held the Women's Strike for Equality in cities around the U.S. In New York, Betty led a crowd of tens of thousands of women down Fifth Avenue. They carried signs and banners with slogans such as "Don't cook dinner, starve a rat tonight," and "Don't iron while the strike is hot." A year later, Betty founded the National Women's Political Caucus alongside Gloria Steinem, Shirley Chisholm, and Bella Abzug. Their aim was to help women gain a more powerful voice in politics and government. While the publication of the Feminine Mystique was a watershed moment for the women's rights movement, Betty's perspective was not universally appreciated. Some thought her ideas were too radical. Others thought she was too much of a moderate and criticized her for leaving LGBTQ women, working-class women, and women of color out of her writing and activism. Throughout her career, Betty continued to write books about feminism. She advocated for equal pay and abortion rights and was a staunch supporter of the Equal Rights Amendment. She also worked as a visiting professor at universities all around the country. On February 4, 2006, Betty passed away in her home in Washington, D.C. It was her 85th birthday. More than 3 million copies of The Feminine Mystique were sold in her lifetime. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Liz Kaplan, my favorite sister and co-creator. Talk to you on Monday. Get ready for more quirk. The critically acclaimed CBS Original ELSBETH is back for Season 2. CBS Thursday, October 17th, Carrie Preston returns as the unexpectedly brilliant attorney Elsbeth Tassioni, working with the NYPD to catch the city's most well-heeled murderers. Every week brings new mysteries and surprising new guest stars, from Nathan Lane to Vanessa Williams, but always the same Elsbeth. Don't miss a moment. Elsbeth is all new on CBS Thursday, October 17th at 10/9 Central as part of CBS Premiere Week and streaming on Paramount+.